WoW Killer is a production of amove.tv. Check out amove TV for many more podcasts, multiple about Blizzard games. And for more of Taliesin's WoW coverage, check out Taliesin and Evitel on YouTube and twitch.tv. Greetings and welcome, everyone. This is WoW Killer. I'm Garrett, joined as always by an a visual gag that I'll have to explain to the audio listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry my camera isn't working today, guys. So we'll just have to have this picture of Shadowlands instead. Only joking. It wasn't a picture. I was hiding. Well, I mean, it was a picture, but I was hiding behind this image of Shadowlands. And why was I doing that, Garrett? Why the big reveal where it was like Shadowlands, but then it's Taliesin? Why do you think I did that?
Because today's topic is the Shadowlands Prepatch, and we're going to make it fight all of the other World of Warcraft Prepatches.
We are. You see, this isn't just a podcast. It's a visual 4D experience, and you don't know. But also, I just done a smell in my room, so it's like 5D.
Okay, nice. What is the smell of Shadowlands? That's today's topic, by the way.
I mean,
it is not actually the
maggot-infested meat, obviously.
Okay, I was gonna say it probably depends very heavily on what zone you're in. And
quite
Maldraxxus probably smells the worst.
Yeah, you'd have thought so, which is why I'm going there. All right. But yeah, we are going to talk. I mean, you know, well, if you've listened or watched this show before, you know that the WoW Killer podcast is a laser-focused, one-topic podcast. And whereas that topic might be relevant to the news, we try and make it not like a newsy podcast, okay? So today's topic is obviously going to be the pre-patch of Shadowlands. But beyond that, we're going to make it show down and lay down, as in like lay it down, not lay down as in sleep, against all of the other pre-patches in WoW history. But the thing is, right, Garrett, what I want to do is, I don't want to just go, how does it compare to the Wrath of the Lich King one? How does it compare to the Cataclysm one? No. I want to create on the fly now, which is something we should have definitely thought of before we started the show, but here we are. On the fly, we need to create like a proper tournament style format where like one expansion's pre-patch faces off against another expansion's pre-patch and then advances on whichever one we decide is the winner. Like an actual tournament, like Street Fighter 2. Or tournaments that exist in real life.
The silence you hear is me scrambling to create a table in Google Docs.
Like the FA Cup. I'm sure there's things online that can do it for you, Garrett. I'm sure there are things that will do it. How many pre-patches have there been? There's been Burning Crusade. There's been Wrath of the Lich King. There's been, what came after that? Cataclysm.
How many expansions have there been?
Pandaria. There's been WoD. There's been Legion. There's been BFA. And there's been... And there's Shadowlands. That's 8.
There's 8, including Shadowlands.
Thank fuck. It's an even number. Because this entire plan would have been ruined if I got to the end there and it wasn't an even number. I would have to have nominated one to leave out of this amazing competition I've just thought of. So that's what we're going to do. But before we do that, we should definitely just have a little talk about the Shadowlands Prepatch and our experience through it so far.
Yeah, we should, which I've been really enjoying, even though I'm sure we'll get to this point at some point, and I guess we're going to get to it now, even though the Shadowlands Prepatch is not the full experience yet.
Well, no, it's not. Which, so, I mean, me holding this picture up and hiding behind it, only to reveal me behind it, was kind of metaphorical as well, because it's not the entire experience yet. We are missing basically the main gist of the pre-patch at the moment, which is the story missions, and which is like the Scourge invasions as well, which form an incredibly important part of it. And I wish I could tell you when those things are going to be happening, Garrett, but we are in like a kind of an unprecedented moment in WoW pre-patch history right now where, you know, we know that those extra things that are coming, but we have no idea when, because they are completely sort of dependent on, you know, the time frame of the expansion coming out, which we thought we knew, but now we don't. We have no idea when Shadowlands is actually launching and when it's actually going live. And, you know, there's 2 weeks of questing in there. In those Ice Crown sort of narrative missions, I guess. So I suppose it's going to come out 2 or maybe 3 weeks before the launch of the expansion, but we don't know when that's going to be. So we don't know when those quests are going to come out, and likewise with the Scourge invasions as well. And basically, the entire thing is kind of being spread over a much longer time frame than we might have expected it to, or like the Blizzard might have expected it to as well. So kind of like this podcast, they're trying to make, you know, a bare minimum of actual new content spread out over a longer time frame than it really deserves. I'm just saying, as a host on this podcast, wow, devs, I feel your pain.
I mean, you're just describing content for millennials. That's all you're describing. That's the only thing you're describing. Is spending way too much time discussing, analyzing, and breaking down things that truly, at the end of the day, are not even a little bit important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. We are in an interesting time, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like, what kind of pre-patch player are you? Are you the type that gets really excited for the new pre-patch like event, like the lead-in, with all of the story implications that come along with it? Or are you the type of player that gets really excited about the new game systems? Because if you're the latter, you're probably having a great time right now. You might not even be thinking about the fact that the damn zombie invasion and the quests aren't in the game yet. So
like I didn't listen to the last episode of The Instance because my baby's been awake a lot recently, so I've been very tired. But what has your pre-patch experience been so far? What have you been doing?
Leveling. I've been having a crisis of what class to start the expansion with is what I've been doing. Because I think I'm gonna start Alliance for the first time in a very long time. Which means all of my desires to be a paladin have gone out the window because they have the worst paladin races.
Are you kidding? Like the classic human paladin.
Oh, yeah, God, you know what I want to be?
For you, scrub.
You know what I want to be? I want to be the Quaker oatmeal rice cake of race options. That's what I want to be.
Are you calling Chris Metzen a rice cake?
I mean, I guess by extension, I'm calling myself a rice cake as a human.
I see. Wow.
Which, frankly, I am a rice cake, Taliesin.
I love my human paladin, and male human paladins look awesome in the new in like any plate.
Actually, I do. I have a human paladin, and yes, I went in. You know what the first thing I did? I went across every damn tune I even remotely cared about, and they went to the barbershop. I just had
exactly. And also, I was going to say, the new human customization options are obviously like S tier, like totally. They are the big winners in the character customization. And yeah, well, it's
funny you said because I would probably tie it with undead, which are just dead humans. So humans just win across the board, whether they're living or dead. Yeah, low key. Humans win. And I know
I'm a firm believer that Forsaken should have every human option as well.
I mean, I'm a firm believer they should have every race option.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of that as well, actually. Yeah. Now that we've moved on from them just being kind of like Lordoronian sort of citizens, I feel like, yes, they should have every race option in the game, and also skeleton versions of every race in the game, like in Divinity 2, because I think that would be baller. That would make them like massively OP as a customizable race.
Okay, but don't make those skeletons look too cool. I want cheesy Army of Darkness skeletons.
What's an Army of Darkness skeleton?
Have you not seen the movie Army of Darkness?
Oh, no.
Okay, don't send your emails, everybody. Just tweet Taliesin and let him know that he has missed out on what is clearly the highest of cinema.
I'll watch it tonight. I'll watch it tonight.
No, you won't.
I will.
That's all right. It's a bunch of stop motion skeletons. I hope you like that. Hope you like it.
I love stop motion skeletons. They're my favorite sort. No, genuinely. Like I've got I hate CGI, right? Generally. I hate like ostentatious, kind of obnoxious CGI.
Yep.
And I think like a lot of the things I dislike about CGI can be completely negated by just having stop motion instead. I think like stop motion, especially in kind of horror movies, especially for like zombies and skeletons and stuff, so much cooler and scarier than CGI. I so
agree.
much more.
I agree. But yeah, once I got out of the barbershop, then Taliesin, it was off to have a crisis of what the hell am I going to start this expansion, which led to me faction swapping my Death Knight and playing it for the first time since Legion.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I have to just go back to what we were saying because my mind is like whirring. If I was in charge of WoW, one of the things I would definitely do would be to purposely cap Forsaken frame rates at 30 or even 20 so they look like old stop motion.
Yeah 20, absolutely, 100%.
I just think that would be awesome. I think it'd be so cool if everyone's like
if they ever add the bone options that you're asking for, specifically the bone options, like the skeleton options should have a capped frame rate.
If I was in charge of WoW, Forsaken would have like every customizable option that every other race has, and skeleton versions, and the skeleton versions would be capped at 20 FPS. Oh my god, it'd be amazing. It would be so good. Everyone would love it. They would.
I am enjoying this conversation a lot.
Because I love human plate wearers. I kind of feel like male humans are the model that plate is designed on. To look good on.
Yeah, I have a real soft spot for it too, because the main tank, when I first started raiding, like when I was like 2 times a week hitting Karazhan, because that's when I started raiding in BC, our main tank was a human, and I just remember I forget what I think it was like King's Defender or something, but I remember the sword and the damn shield that was out of Karazhan, which our tank had, and I just remember that stupid human pose they strike, which I actually kind of love and have a ton of nostalgia for, when they're sword and board and they're ready to pull. Like, that's just, to me, that visual, the silhouette of a male human plate wearer, sword and board style, in their go stance, that just me in the zone. It's like, it's go time. Don't AFK right click the boss because you're a hunter and you're gonna accidentally pull. That's what all the things that come into my brain.
The closest that Horde get to that are female orcs. I feel like female orcs are legit plate wearers. I've
had a female orc warrior for a long time. At some point, I faction swapped for some reason.
So cool. So cool. But I was a bit limited. So I went on, I did the exact same thing as you. Like, the main thing I did, I'm leveling up an NA character on my NA account, which is actually older than my EU account. It's not my original account, but it's older than my EU account. And I haven't touched it since the first week of Warlords of Draenor. So I got nothing on it. I only played it at the end of it's the account I first created when I started playing WoW with Evitel. So I created it at the end of Mr. Pandaria, leveled up through there, and then started playing WoD on it, and then was like, oh man, I want to raid and stuff, so I need an EU account, and so left it there. So I've got nothing on the account. No Brutasaur, no Transmog Yak, nothing except the goat mount from the Tillers. From Pandaria, and that's like the one cool thing I've got on that entire account. But it is really cool, and I haven't got that on my EU account. So I've been my plan for Shadowlands is I got really annoyed in BFA, a lot of things, but particularly with the fact that every time a new patch came out, if it was a 0.5 patch, there'd be some new questing and some new cinematics usually connected to that questing. And as like an EU player and an EU content creator, I couldn't access the new cinematic straight away in game with all the context and stuff. Yeah, I'd see it on like Wowhead and stuff, but if I wanted to get context, I had to sit there on a Tuesday night for me and watch like an NA streamer like Towelie or someone like that, which is, not so bad because Towelie's really cool, but I'd have to watch him do the quests and like watch the cinematic and then start making a video quite late at night about this cinematic because, and I've only watched someone doing it, which really annoyed me. So I thought, just so I could like play that kind of stuff, the day that it goes live, it would be really cool to maintain an NA character in Shadowlands as well.
Wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me that this entire time you've had an NA account and we haven't hung out in game, Taliesin? You've over how many times, listeners? Somebody with the interest in doing this, go back, count how many times Taliesin has been. Well, if you had an EU account, Garrett.
Hey, if you want to play with Taliesin, EU is there for you.
Well,
so
I realize we're doing a bit now, but it's never been, I think, a better time or a more accessible time for me to go and just out of the ether spawn an EU account and get a max level toon.
Well, exactly, because obviously I could just boost my toon because I bought Shadowlands for my NA account, and I also have got a spare collector's edition here as well that I can add to an account for a free boost. But I thought it'd be the ideal time to level a character through NA to try all that out, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I want to go back to so that's been fun creating a character on NA. I wanted it to be Horde, so I have gone a female orc. But when it came to my characters on EU, which I have millions of, when it came to human plate wearers, I was a little bit limited actually because my paladin is a human plate wearer, and I went straight to the barbershop. I realized that my human paladin is named after the old YouTuber Haven, who I was good friends with. It's kind of like a tribute sort of character for him. So I can't really change what he looks like too much. I gave him some cool new facial hair and cool hair, but I didn't want it to. I wanted it to still look like him essentially because it's supposed to be him, right? So I was a bit limited, but I went into my my Worgen Warrior, who is the only other one who had a human male look. And I was playing with that, and I liked the human male look for my Worgen so much, and so much more than the actual Worgen parts of it, that I had to race change him to just human. He got cured. He got cured of his Worgen curse. So now my human warrior looks amazing, and he's so cool, and he's got the best hair and the best facial hair, and he's just awesome, and the best eyes, and he wields. He's a warrior, but I've got him on single-handed fury, and he wields twin flails. Because you can do that now. You can use the artifact appearances from different specs. So he's got the flail that was the Mage Tower appearance for Prot Warrior, but he's got two of them, and he dual wields flails, and he's just brilliant.
That
and
seems so dangerous. We're going strictly from a story lore aspect. That seems so ill-advised.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's so cool. He's so awesome, and he's totally worthy of looking as awesome as he is. Nice. So that was one of my big changes. And I went in and I changed my hunter, who's a night elf, and I gave. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that if you are a night elf, if you have any night elf female characters, maybe you can back me up if you do.
Oh,
Garrett.
I definitely do, Taliesin.
Okay, so you went either the Sombra haircut or more likely just the really shaggy haircut. The really shaggy
Both
one.
are amazing, but I went with Sombra for my female night elf warrior.
Yeah.
Also,
everyone's doing that.
There are 3 night elves I've messed with in the barbershop already, and all of them have Teldrassil burn scars now. Because
of course.
How can you not? If you played a night
elf. With vines, right? With vines in the hair.
Yes. Not my warrior. She doesn't have time for that business. She's very serious. There's a character from Korra that I'm thinking of that's very kind of militant. Which I know you haven't seen. Get on that as well.
Oh, we are watching it. Oh,
you're watching Korra at the moment.
Evitel doesn't love it, so we're not watching it too much. But I might have to continue watching it by myself. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's great.
Last Airbender's better, but Korra's really good.
Yeah, there's just enough of the old worldy stuff in Korra to kind of give me that hit, which I need. Yeah. And I'm enjoying it on its own terms. I think it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah. So many of my WoW characters just inevitably end up being riffs off of Airbender characters.
Oh, most of mine are riffs off of Earthsea characters. So
nice. Yeah. Good to know.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah. Points to them for just giving up away on the naming conventions of all of these options for how you look and just calling them what they are. Things like Sombra and Teldrassil.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so awesome. I like top marks the Teldrassil burns. I think those are brilliant. Yeah. I changed my female night elf druid into a guy because I've never really liked the night elf guys before, but now that they've got like humongous beards and sideburns and like purple hair coloring and vines, for some reason they just totally work for me now. I never liked them before, but now I love them like big time.
It evens them out. They always had a bit of a... The heads on male night elves come to a little bit too sharp a point. I think it's always been weird. They've been all neck. Like the entire history of male night elves' existence, they have been all neck.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Because they always looked great when you would slap an angular helm on them, because it would even them out. But now that you can, I'm with you. As someone who has probably played more male night elves than any other race gender combination in this game, their heads have always been strange, and the beards save them. The beards really
new
save
haircuts and the big beards do go a long way to sorting that out for me. So I really like it. And he's a druid, and he mostly exists to be my farming alt as well. So he's got a big backpack on, and he just looks great. It's just a really good silhouette. It's just really lush. I like it a lot. I won't be playing druid much in Shadowlands because they've been completely killed. But, it's good to have. Really good to have.
Nice. I came to a realization myself when I finished maxing out my Death Knight, because, again, hadn't touched him since Legion. So I got to experience what the new leveling was like from 45.
I actually did something very similar. I found an alt which was at 48 after the level squish. And what I did was I went to Legion and I leveled through Argus, because the Argus quests had popped. So the first quest I picked up sent me to the Exodar to get on the Vindicar to go to Argus, and I got to Macquarie by the time I leveled up.
I like to tease Wowhead because they will tweet for the smallest of reasons. And last night I saw them tweet that you could level through Argus, and I was like, that is legitimately interesting. I did not think about that.
I had an absolute ball going the last, and it was on my Alliance Shaman, who is the only class on Alliance that I don't have at max level, or didn't have at max level. And so I now have every class at max level again on Alliance. I did have a max level Shaman, but it was on Horde. So I do have every class at max level, but now I have every class at max level on Alliance, which is, outrageous. And I race changed that one before I started on the leveling again. I race changed her from a Kultiran human to a dwarf female, which was pretty awesome, because the new dwarf female options are legit, particularly for Shaman. They look amazing. And I've never been more happy with my new little dwarf Shaman. She's incredible. I love her so much.
I've never been able to stick with a short race for some reason.
Yeah, me neither, but I'm totally into this dwarf Shaman.
I really like dwarves, and I really like mechanomes. My God, mechanomes are freaking cool, but I just can't. Wow, I can't stick with it. I'm vain and want to look large and heroic, I guess. I don't know. I'm just a dirty Legolas fan. Like when it comes back to Lord of the Rings.
Going through Argus, it was great. It was thoroughly enjoyable and a really good way to level. Were there any other big changes from your characters? What were your biggest customization changes? Did you race change or like gender change anyone?
I did, but just for kind of the fun of playing around with it. Not on anyone I've really played yet. I've had a human warlock that was already max level that I thought I was going to switch to at one point in BFA, and then was just like, oh, I don't really like warlocks. so it was just sitting there, and then I was like, I'm gonna just swap you over to a female human, and oh my God, the best hair options in the game. Like, oh.
Okay, so the human options I feel like deserve special kind of mention, because they're not just vast and huge, but they kind of feel important as well. And I don't want to go overboard on the whole diversity issue, because it's not really my place to, being like the definition of an undiverse person, I am the most stereotypical looking person in video game character creation, history. If you played a game where no customization options existed, your character probably looks like me. So like it's, you know, I've always had representation in video games.
I mean,
so it's
I have never in my life played a game where my character was wearing a sweater over a collared shirt. So I really don't know how to help you with that, Taliesin.
You've obviously never created a manager on FIFA Soccer in the last few years.
I've never played a FIFA game in my life.
So yeah, but what I mean is just my face and my, you know, my obviously my skin color and my just what I look like. You know, most kind of bog standard video game characters look like some version of me.
You would probably get a tweet from the Baldur's Gate creators about how boring
mocking me
your choice.
Except I wouldn't, because my Baldur's Gate character is smoking. She is like a green-skinned, pink-haired, like yellow-eyed wood elf, I think. Yeah, she's awesome. She's great. So no, the Baldur's Gate guys would not mock me. But I've, you know, in games where, you know, the standard stereotypical video game character exists, which is the stereotypical video game character for a reason, because, you know, video game devs decided in the mid-90s that the only people that played games were like white male teenagers, and everyone else who played games was like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, pretty sure that's who plays video games, so that's who everyone in video games looks like now.
It's almost like games were developed by adults that were still teenage white males in their mind.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, it is just, you know, you can just go, if you did a straw poll of the main character on the front of every video game box from the mid-90s up until now, it would be overwhelmingly people that look like some version of me. And that, you know, so I and that's awesome for me. Yay. I no complaints. Brilliant. But like, it's not very interesting. And even for me, it turns out it's a bit boring. And but it means that I don't have the same, pun intended, I don't have the same skin in the game when it comes to kind of diversity in video games. For me, there's some, like, diversity is something that I want just because it's simply more interesting for me. Like having the different face shapes and the different skin colors and the different hair types and things like that. Like, I love it and I think it's brilliant and I want it, because but for me it's a case of like just variety and a more interesting visual experience. I don't have like a stake in it, you know, because I've always been represented in WoW.
Right, yeah. Like, it's just more visually appealing. Like, it's just higher fidelity in terms of variation. It's gotten away from like 80s and 90s anime version of races, which is just drawing white people and changing the skin tone.
Yeah.
Like, which at a certain point is just boring and dull, and it just doesn't, like you said, it just isn't as like variable an experience.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why it would surprise me, but I have been surprised by the amount of people tweeting out and stuff, like how kind of much it means to them that they can do something really simple, like just make their WoW character look like them. Something that, like, I've never had to think about, something that I've always taken for granted. And I can sit here with the privilege of just saying, yeah, we should have different skin colors and stuff because it's more interesting. Like, whereas for a lot of people, it's a bit more meaningful than that. And that's just awesome to see. And that's fantastic. But from my point of view, it's just really cool that you've got all these cool new hair and skin colors in the game, which is fantastic and like just super interesting. And it's amazing with the humans how just having 3 different types of face shape can like totally change what it feels like to walk around an Alliance area and see characters walking around and stuff, because suddenly there is just all of this like variety that wasn't there before, and it just looks incredible. And I know
because it also extends like NPCs as well. Like our non-player characters just look better and there's more variety.
So much fun and like just genuinely awesome to see that kind of seeping through into, like you say, NPCs and just general people playing the game. So like, yeah, the human options they're brilliant. they're amazing. Like they're so good, and like so much fun to play around with. And I kind of feel like I need to create some more human characters so I can really make the most out of them.
Yeah, it's
despite having loads.
it's a good time for it to come in as well, like to add this large of a breadth of customization options across every race in the game, coming in with a like the single biggest overhaul of the leveling we've seen since Cataclysm. Like it's perfect. It makes me wonder, like, it's like my head, because I'm a nerd who makes content online, I want to make this fight new character models from Warlords and go, which was more impactful? Which did I like more? And I kind of want to, like, I wish I could revisionist history it and like go to a pocket universe where we got more customization options, but not better character models back in Draenor, and see how that felt.
Yeah.
But it unfolded in the order that it unfolded, and I'm just...
Well, it's
really
iterative,
so
isn't it? And so it is like a major feature of the expansion. I mean, it is this expansion's new race or new class, which is something we haven't got either of in this expansion. And instead of that, we've got these customizations, which is weird because it is iterative. So it doesn't, in a way, it doesn't feel like an expansion feature. It feels like something which is just being added to the game, and it doesn't, in a way, it doesn't really feel expansion specific. So it is a Shadowlands feature, like genuinely it is something that a lot of work and development time and resources has gone into, and you can definitely see that it definitely improves the game, manifestly and importantly, but it kind of doesn't feel like an expansion feature to me. Does that make sense? Like, is that weird? Or
I mean, I don't know. We get into the kind of the evolution of World of Warcraft and the age of World of Warcraft, because I'm not. I feel like a decent amount of the community is hung up on like no new class, no new race sort of business, because I do see a lot of talk about that. But I don't know. For me personally, I'm just like, I don't know. The game is over a decade old. It has been around for a long time, and like, at what point do you just have class bloat or race bloat? And so to me, this seems like a natural evolution of an MMO. Like WoW has been top dog in the MMO space for basically its entire life, and is only now just starting to see like real true competition to the throne. But the space where I think it has always been the weakest has been in character customization. And so if you are going, if you're going to reach a point in a game like World of Warcraft's life where it doesn't really make sense, to me, and this is my opinion, it feels like it doesn't really have room for a lot more races and classes. I'm sure at some point we'll get more, but it makes sense that we've broken that tempo of new class, one expansion, new race, next expansion, new class, one expansion, new race, next expansion. It makes sense we've gotten away from that. It's been around a long time. So to me, to see them then go, okay, well, here, we're gonna just like add a cornucopia of new customization options. To me, it makes sense. To me, I look at it and go, this seems like a natural evolution of character creation experience and additions with a new expansion.
Yeah.
That's where my brain's kind of at.
No, I get that, and it's really unfair to not really think of the new customization options as an expansion feature, because they, like I say, they clearly are. There's just something about it that feels more like maintenance, and like amazing maintenance, but maintenance that should be done anyway, kind of beyond an expansion. And honestly, I kind of feel that way about the new leveling experience as well. Because I feel like that's something that is being put in place for the good of the game from now on, rather than like it being an expansion thing. Yeah,
but it's not the first time we've had these sorts of features in a pre-patch.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And we had kind of a new leveling experience in a way put in for BFA as well, which is much better than what came before with the scaling in the open world, and the new leveling experience is even better again. Like it's just going a bit further than BFA did. And the idea that you can one whole expansion's worth of content will scale to your level.
And that ties back into the like my opening comment about how like I think there's two different types of things you get excited in a pre-patch, and housekeeping is one of them, and then the other is the actual like whatever the in-game event is that's actually narratively leading up to the expansion.
Yeah.
And so now we only have the housekeeping side of things.
Housekeeping's a nice way of putting it. I like that. And I feel like we've only had the housekeeping stuff.
Yeah, but imagine housekeeping's really cool. Like is housekeeping
exactly.
during
And this particular round of housekeeping is quite momentous because in many expansions, it would only be the class changes, really. And those are there too. And they're not as extreme as class changes in other expansions, with the kind of the reliance on incredibly powerful borrowed power that BFA kind of focused on. Losing corruption is a big deal. Getting ready to lose sort of Azerite traits and Azerite essences and stuff is a big deal as well. So that kind of makes the class changes feel bigger than they are. But I mean, certainly compared to something like Legion, the class changes are pretty minimal, really. Like, what have you noticed on your characters?
In terms of class change, I haven't really, I would only really notice if I was playing my Paladin, which I have not been playing my Paladin. But I played a decent amount of Paladin on the beta, and really haven't noticed much.
No, there's not much. Paladin's a kind of a classic example of Shadowlands class updates, which is basically plays the same concept as it does in BF8. With more buttons through the unpruning. So like you've got a few more buttons. You've got some auras you can use as ret now, which are baseline for all of the Paladin specs. You've got baseline Wake of Ashes and the hammer that you use as well for low health targets. And that's all baseline, which gives you some extra talents. And now you can talent into like a really good bursty kind of execute build as well.
That's to me really where the change comes from, right? Because we were all taking Wake of Ashes if you were playing red. Yeah. The fact that it is baseline doesn't really feel a lot different. And then since I was trying it on the beta, I wasn't doing anything end game. So it's like how it. And
you got some extra maintenance, some extra kind of like utility stuff, which is now baseline for all specs. So you get like an extra heal and stuff like that you can use utility wise, which is excellent because that's what Paladin should be doing. But it feels very familiar. There's very few classes that had like root and branch kind of changes. They all basically play to the same concept, but with a few more buttons here.
Yeah. I am enjoying again. Because Fresh 50, not like max gears, so I'm not, pushing the damage numbers or anything. But I am enjoying the single target build Frost Death Knight, because as you've heard me bemoan multiple times on this very program, I can't stand Breath of Sindragosa.
No. Same thing happens every beta and pre-patch though, Garrett. Everyone's always like, yeah, but Taliesin, I know you hate Breath of Sindragosa, right? But don't worry, because the obliteration build is really good. It's really good this time, and it's going to be totally viable.
Every time I mention it on the show,
totally viable. It's going to be totally viable. You can go obliteration Taliesin. You don't have to do breath, and I'll be like, I believe that when I see it, mate, because I don't care what they do to obliteration. Breath of Sindragosa is always, just by the way it works, going to be this. And until they just get rid of Breath of Sindragosa, it's always going to be what everyone plays. And they're like, no, but Taliesin, you don't understand. This time it's different, because this time, two-handed frost, okay? And you can go into two-handed frost, and you can spec into obliterate, and I swear, Taliesin, single target, it's going to be viable. It's going to be viable. And I was like, nope. No, it won't. And it's not. I mean, it wasn't viable anyway, but then Blizz like nerfed it all, nerfed the obliterate build like into the ground just before pre-patch went live, and now it's just not viable. It's never going to be, and it wouldn't be while Breath exists. So I'm sorry, Frost Knight.
Yeah, it's just such a shame because
but some people really love Breath, and that's awesome. That's great.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people at all. So I am enjoying Ice Cap, but yeah, I'm with you. Every time it gets brought up on this podcast, I get a few mentions from people like, no, it's like you, it's going to be good. And I always reply, I'm like, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I have no reason to trust them. They've ruined it multiple expansions now, and it appears they have ruined it again.
Still people saying it's going to be viable in the chat now. No, it's not.
Nah.
It's not.
Nah, oh God, yeah. God, man.
I wish it were.
Eventually we're going to get to talk about the other pre-patches, but now I just want to talk about how I think just Death Knight has been the biggest swing and miss in terms of class fantasy in, like, I think the history of World of Warcraft.
Really? I think Unholy's nice. I think Holy's a great spec, and Blood is always
I guess it really depends on where you class fantasy.
And it's only, like, Frost is a really fun spec. Like if you play Obliterate, like, and you place double-handed, Frost is great. It's procky, it's fast, it's fun. Like it's really good, and it's different from the other specs. It just feels really good. The only problem is breath. That's, like, for me, and loads of people love breath, so that's not a problem. But, like, for me, it's
a
just
problem.
breath.
It's a problem. It is.
Garrett has spoken.
It is definitely a problem.
But the other two specs are great. I love Unholy and I love Blood. Really fun.
Yeah. Most listen, I'm not usually the type of person to like be like, no, you should like this one specific niche version of something that's cool for popular reasons. But the reason most people give a crap about Death Knights is Arthas, and that's a Frost Death Knight, and it's not fun to play.
Yeah, fair.
So, with full awareness of this is an opinion, and if you are more than within your rights to absolutely love and champion Breaths of Sindragosa.
Yeah, and you're clear. You are free to kid yourself that Obliterate is going to be fine as well and viable.
Yeah, I'm not, and that's part of the reason I think I've already got buyer's remorse.
That ain't an opinion, fam. That ain't an opinion. We'll see it happen when the game goes live. And look, the reason I'm sitting here in such confidence is because this happens every expansion. We have this exact same conversation, and people in the chat are doing the exact same thing that they always do every expansion. They're like, "No, Taliesin, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's all, like, Obliterate, totally viable. Never is."
Chat room. Where are my people who are like, oh, Death Knights were the best when you could do whatever the shit you wanted and whatever spec you wanted, because that's where my brain is at, and usually you've shown up by now, but we've just got a bunch of Obliterate stands in the chat room right now.
But here's the thing, right? We're getting very, very specific right now.
You asked me what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
I will start talking about, the specifics of Discipline Priest going into the next expansion. I don't think that's something anyone wants to hear. So instead, I suggest we move on to the main event of this episode of the podcast, which is I'm going to call it the Prepatch playoffs.
Okay.
Prepatch World Cup. If you're European.
So for the sake of our own sanity.
Anywhere except North America, and Prepatch playoffs if you're from North America, because I know that North Americans can't really understand, like, if you're from anywhere else in the world, you can always understand references which are specifically American, but Americans have a really hard time understanding references that don't apply very specifically to their culture. So the Prepatch playoffs, here we go. What we need to do is we need to create, we've got 8, so that's what, quarterfinals. We're going straight into the quarterfinals of the playoffs here.
Yep.
So we got 8 expansions. Each
one
has a number, and we need to work out which ones are going to battle against which one.
I was going to say, for our own sanity, we could go in a release order, but
no, I don't think that would be fair. I think we need to randomly draw it, because that would also be quite fun for me, because I've got my random number generator.
Oh, nice, wonderful! I'm glad that you have a way to do this.
But let me just close WoW, and we can get on with this segment. Oh! Did you get my joke? I said I got the random number generator up, but let me just close WoW.
Close WoW.
And we can
yeah. Nice.
I got the RNG. Yeah, you know me. But I actually do have a random number generator up, and with obviously 1 being Burning Crusade, and 2 being Wrath, etc., and 8 being Shadowlands. Do you have the format, the drawn against?
I have a very rudimentary table situation going on that will work for our purposes.
Fantastic. So the first ball out of the hat, because that's how we do it for World Cup. I don't know how they do it for playoffs, but the ball out of the hat is 7, which is BFA will play 6, which is Legion. That's what we call a group of death. Okay, and then the next matchup will be 1 Burning Crusade.
Okay.
And that's going up against all 3 Cataclysm. Getting some interesting matchups here. Some very interesting matchups. Then we have 4, which is Mists of Pandaria will play 8,
which is Shadowlands.
Which is Shadowlands,
yep.
which I think leaves 1 more matchup.
It leaves Warlords versus Wrath no matter how the draw happens.
Excellent. Brilliant.
We'll
have to see like which winners end up playing which winners, but I think it's going to, yeah. Okay, so awesome. So for what was the first matchup?
BFA's Prepatch, which is War of Thorns, is going up against Taliesin Legion, which is the Demon Invasions and Broken Shore.
Starting up, I mean, this could be the final, frankly. This could have been the final. If we'd seeded these, then, you know, this could have well ended up being the final.
Yeah, we would have done like strongest versus weakest and worked our way into the middle of like middling versus middling. Yeah.
That's how seeding works. Yeah.
Yep. But alas, we have found ourselves here with, I'm with you. I think 2 of the strongest. Bro, the criticism BFA gets. BFA had a very strong pre-patch.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say that BFA wins this. I think that the War of Thorns was outrageous and like incredibly brave and ambitious. And you might not have liked how the story went, but the way the story is presented, I just don't think the game has had a pre-patch that good before. Because think about what you got. Okay, in the first week of BFA. And Legion was very, very good, as we'll recap as well. But the first week of BFA, you got Darkshore opening. And essentially, there wasn't really any story there. But what you did get was obviously the class changes. But importantly, you got War Mode going live as well. So PvP realms and PvE realms ceased to exist in those terms. And, you know, your use of world PvP came down to whether you had War Mode enabled or not, which for someone who'd always played on a PvE server, but always quite fancied world PvP every now and then without having the balls to go on a PvP server, because I didn't want to get stuck on that if I didn't like it, that was a godsend. And I actually think like War Mode is one of the best things ever introduced into this game. I think it's fantastic. And I had an amazing first week in BFA Prepatch in Darkshore doing War Mode. It was so much fun. It was so cool. And then you had like the War of Thorns over 2 weeks with like incredibly important story and like long quest lines as well, which culminated obviously in the burning of Teldrassil. And if you're Alliance, still one of my favorite quest lines in the entire game, where you have to fly up to Teldrassil and try and rescue people on a timer. And you've got like 1,000, like the quest requires you to rescue like 1,000 people, and it's on a 3-minute timer. So obviously you can't do it. And like it's a quest that you have to fail, which is like really awesome and really cool. Like important characters died from Teldrassil. You had the fallout from that, and then the week after that, you had the Siege of Lordaeron. And not only that, but I think you have to count like the cinematics and in particular Old Soldier as being a part of the whole pre-patch experience as well. Don't forget, so the burning of Teldrassil happened and all the fallout from that, which, if nothing else, was a huge event in the game and got the entire player base talking, and like the discourse around the player base was on fire. Oh, that was a bad pun. I didn't mean to do that one. Sorry, but it was. And then you had the Battle of Lordaeron the next week, and the day before the Battle of Lordaeron went live, the Old Soldier cinematic dropped, and oh my god, it was amazing. It was so good. What an experience.
I'm grinning because I feel like you led into a strong defense thinking I would push back against it, but I really...
No, I know you love it.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I think you hit the nail on the head with whether you like the story or not, which for me, there's only one issue with it, which has been my biggest complaint for like the last 2 years of World of Warcraft, but still it is only one issue in a very large pre-patch. I really liked BFA's pre-patch. I thought it was absolutely stellar for all of the reasons that you just brought up. And even on a personal note, like my complaints about Sylvanas aside, being someone who spent from vanilla to midway through Wrath of the Lich King on the first character they made, which was a Night Elf, like going back to my old Night Elf main and going through the War of Thorns and doing that Alliance only mission you mentioned, flying into the your burning home to save people, it worked. It made me feel things, Taliesin. This cheesy somewhat on rails MMO experience made me feel things.
Yeah, it was awesome. But BFA's win in this is not a foregone conclusion, because let's talk about Legion, which was also amazing. For a start, it wasn't Warlords of Draenor, and that was good.
Yes.
And secondly, so you had the class changes, which were huge in Legion, and fundamental. Like, many characters got rebuilt from the ground up. Many specs did, and on a spec by spec basis. So you had the combat rogues disappeared and got replaced by outlaw rogues, a whole completely new concept. Survival hunters became melee, completely new concept. Discipline priest was completely redesigned, like a complete new concept. Same with shadow priest with the insanity mechanic, like a completely fresh concept. So many classes and specs were just completely redesigned, so they were essentially, to all intents and purposes, new specs. You also had a new class that was available to play for pre-orders, which I'm going to count as pre-patch content, because it launched at the same time as the Broken Shore. In the pre-patch, which was Demon Hunters. You could start playing your Demon Hunter in pre-patch as well if you pre-ordered, which was a whole new starting zone, a whole new class, 2 new specs, and you could start playing that sort of in-game and testing out in dungeons and things. You had the Demon Invasions, which were brilliant, like still some of the best open world content I think pre-patch has ever seen, where, in numerous locales around the map. And one of the big complaints about WoD was you felt like you'd been stuck in your garrison for the entire expansion, not even venturing out into WoD, let alone the rest of like the Warcraft world. And then suddenly you were going all over the old world map to these old locations with like these demon invasions, and they were big group content, which everyone was doing because they were an amazing way to level alts, like super fast way to level alts. It was really fantastic, and culminated in like huge world boss battles, and they just all looked brilliant. Like all the way the zones have been changed because the demon invasions and stuff like that, they were so awesome. I put more time into the Legion invasions than I did the last year of WoD. Like, fact. No two ways about it. And like so much fun. And then the Broken Shore in the last week of pre-patch with the death of spoilers for Legion, the death of Varian and of the troll guy as well.
The troll guy.
I'm so excited. I'm so tired as well, guy. You have no idea.
It's all right. That is the same respect that the writers of World of Warcraft showed to Vol'jin by making him such a memorable and impactful war chief during his tenure.
Also, I mean, like Vol'jin, Varian took down a huge demon construct and like soloed a whole bunch of demons, fel lords, and then
my
eventually...
favorite part was the montage of all the heartwarming scenes with Varian as the song "It's Been a Long Day" played in the background. That was my favorite bit.
Well, I mean, it's got to be one of the most heroic deaths in WoW, and like really got me in the feels and left me completely shaken. But we do forget about the horror of Vol'jin's death as well, because he fell over and he broke his tooth.
Yes, and then made a great decision and made Sylvanas war chief.
Yeah, and then basically ruined the world for everyone by choosing Sylvanas.
Vol'jin got so shafted, pun intended.
He did fall over and he did break his tooth. In fairness, my tooth! Ow! I fell over, Mon.
Let's be honest. Those are pretty big tusks. I feel like that would be extremely painful.
Fair.
Yeah. No, Varian death, absolutely.
I've looked. I can't find that tusk anywhere on the Broken Shore. You can find Varian Rin's shoe and his bony leg on the spot where he died. That's how horrific that is, okay? But you can't find Vol'jin's tooth. What's going on with that?
What the heck? There's still blood marks in the Lordaeron throne room from the crown. Yeah. But we can't find...
my goodness.
There's nothing for where Vol'jin fell?
Have you, just a slight tangent here, have you Have you had the pleasure of reading the new Exploring Azeroth
have not.
Eastern Kingdoms book by Christy Golden?
I have
It's absolutely amazing. It's not released for another 2 months because I think it's just been delayed again.
Oh.
But a lot of EU creators got them sent to them by Blizz because obviously they forgot the release date had been
Did you just want to flex on me? Is that what this is?
Well, no, because I know you love Lordaeron and I know you love all that lore and stuff. And there is some there's a tasty lore reveal at the very end. Like that you're going to really like. It's not a spoiler for Shadowlands, but it is just a really nice lore reveal that you're probably going to want to read yourself. But if you like Lordaeron lore, then you're definitely going to want to read this because it's got a really, really nice reveal at the end.
Cool. When do we get the check for that lovely ringing endorsement of Exploring Azeroth?
November the 24th, it was put back to, but I think it's been put back again now. Or it's about to be put back again. Maybe that's just inside information that I shouldn't have shared. But it's been put back. You're not going to get it for a while, but you should pre-order it and you should get it delivered on the day you can. Because apart from anything, it's just a really beautiful, like classic fantasy book, and the histories that it gives.
Look at the drawings.
Yeah, just really, really good. And even if that doesn't appeal to you, the tasty bit of lore is really cool. So,
well, that is delightful. That is absolutely delightful.
Sorry, what you said just brought that to mind for some reason. But like here's the thing, the Legion pre-patch was amazing and like the best pre-patch for many, many expansions. And I'm not sure I can just give it to BFA just like that. I don't know. I like when you think about what was actually in the Legion one, like the Battle of Broken Shore, man, the death of Varian and Vol'jin, the cinematic, Demon Hunters, Legion Invasions. Was BFA really better than that?
And also like slightly like variants on those cinematics depending on what faction you were playing on.
Yes.
Like seeing it from the Horde's perspective and seeing it from the Alliance's perspective. Which also like seems like it would have been a good lead into BFA, like a very faction focused expansion, but they did something like that for Legion. And but at the same time, I'm sorry, I give it to BFA. I give it to BFA. Like,
I would too.
Legion was really cool, but the story part was extremely end loaded. It was like 1 week of really well executed. Like I don't want to take anything away from it. Like really well executed story, but War of Thorns spread it out. It felt impactful. It felt meaty. It didn't feel like just throwaway little one and done quests. Like you had to progress through it. And I just felt like there was more there, where it's like my personal memory of Legion is really just slamming demon invasions and leveling up alts, which was fun and I had a good time. But to me, it was pretty one note up until Broken Shore.
Okay, fair enough. And I think if it weren't for the Battle of Lordaeron, I'd probably give it to Legion. But I think with War of Thorns and the Battle of Lordaeron and the hype that built up to that and the cinematics and everything else, yeah, I'm going to give it to BFA as well.
Cool.
Done. BFA progresses to the next round where they will face the winner of
Burning Crusade, which is the Dark Portal event, versus Cataclysm, which is the Shattering event.
You are going to have to explain the Dark Portal event to me, please.
Oh, you think this is what happens when we don't talk before the show about what we're going to be doing. I didn't play through it. No, I was taking a break. I was, I believe I had some sort of exam. Well, not exams because I went to art school, but like fall final projects or something was happening during this pre-patch event. And it was one of the few times I actually chose schoolwork over World of Warcraft during my bachelor's degree.
Well, you're regretting it now when you're on your World of Warcraft podcast and you can't talk about the Dark Portal event. Do you know anything about it, though?
Yeah. No, I remember it was like demon invasions, but nothing like during Legion. I mean, basically, as I vaguely remember, and also I'm opening Wildhead in the background to remind myself. Yeah, okay. It was basically like the Dark Portal had opened, and demons were attacking Hinterlands, Eastern Plaguelands, Winter Spring, Stranglethorn Vale, Ajara, Silithus, and Searing Gorge. And they replaced Lord Khazak with Cruel, and it was like this big world boss that you had to go fight.
Cool.
But there was really not much in the way of a story or questing.
I'm reading about the Cruel boss fight, world boss fight. It says in the official description, only a large and well-coordinated group of adventurers might stand the chance of defeating him.
Go figure.
basically when they do it in WoW Classic.
The only thing I remember,
45s.
yeah, the only thing I truly remember about this was being confused that some people had an Argent Dawn tabard that let them like pose heroically, because that was it. You did a quest and you got the tabard of the Protector, which looked like identical to the Argent Dawn tabard, but it has an on use where you like strike a pose and like paladin glowy bits happen.
Oh, that's cool.
It is. I mean, it's like a one-off, kind of weirdo item, right? That like if you have it now, like where that player was at what time.
Okay, what about the Cataclysm one? The Shattering, because I started playing Cataclysm on the day that Cataclysm launched. I played Wrath and then I stopped playing for a little bit and didn't see the end of Wrath and then started playing again on day one. So what happened?
It was kind of cool. Actually, as much as I remember it, it kind of seems.
Wait, hang on. I'm reading this. It says the Cataclysm Prepatch event stretched out over months.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, and also probably the most analogous to War of Thorns that we're going to talk about today, because it like led up to Deathwing happening, like to the actual Shattering, and so. You had Operation Nomergon for the Alliance and Zalazane's Fall for the Horde. And that's kind of like what kicked it off. And I don't even remember this. My God, looking at Wowhead now, that lasted for basically a month until like the second stage, which was the Elemental Invasion, happened at the beginning of November. And then at the end of November, the actual Shattering event itself happened.
Wow. What was the actual Shattering event? Was that...
I believe it was, again, this is like shoddy memory at best, but that was actually probably what you would call the pre-patch proper, where they changed the world.
Oh, wow. That's when the world changed.
Yeah.
It didn't. See, this is how much I was not in touch with what was happening in the game at the time, was because I assumed that's why I started playing again on day one of the actual launch of the expansion. I assumed that's when the world was going to change. So I thought I was there on day one of the world changing, but apparently I was not.
Yeah, November 23rd is when it happened. Okay, yeah, can confirm. Okay, my memory is not as bad as I thought. That is November 23rd, the Elemental event ended, and the actual Shattering happened. Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor like permanently changed on November 23rd. And so there was a 2 month, almost a 2 month lead up into that.
That's nuts. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the 2 month lead up, but waking up one day and the whole world having changed must have been pretty exciting. I know it was exciting for me when I started playing Cataclysm. It felt like, I mean, we all know maybe we have like mixed feelings about it all now and how it turned out.
Yeah, and especially post-classic, like post-classic, being able to go back and revisit it and have all those warm fuzzies, like, has been cool and has kind of rekindled a lot of my love for the way Azeroth used to be. But at the time, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Like the level of change that happened to the game.
And like massively ambitious as well. It just felt like such an event. It was so huge.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember I was so excited to eventually fly in old world Azeroth. Like, and knowing that this event had come in and was going to make that possible was really cool. But then, just seeing the zones change, like all of the scars and gorges and wild waterfall effects that were added to the game. And it was a huge deal. And so to me, it's like a no contest here. I think Cataclysm destroys Burning Crusade in terms of a pre-patch event.
Awesome. Cool. On to our next quarterfinal matchup, which is
Mists of Pandaria, which was Theramore's Fall versus the pre-patch we are currently living
We've had
through.
some good pre-patches, mind, haven't we? Some good ones.
Yep.
That's versus Shadowlands.
Yep. Versus, right now, which we are technically in like half a pre-patch.
Let me just remind myself of Mr. Pandaria's pre-patch. This pre-patch event dramatized key moments from the pre-patch book, Tides of War. Wow.
Which is still my favorite WoW novel I've read. I haven't read them all.
Wow.
But
Cool. I mean, that's pretty awesome as well. So that's when like you saw Theramore get blown up and stuff like that.
Yes. And I've never really had this experience before, Taliesin, but I had a very unique experience with Miss Pandaria's Prepatch, and specifically the Theramore scenario, because I read the book before I played the scenario. And I don't know if you're the book was better type of person, and you read a book and you go see the movie and the book ruins the movie. This is the first time ever a book has absolutely, completely taken all of the wind out of a video game for me.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, the scenario is so lame.
I tell you what, Taliesin, I'm usually a book is better than the movie guy, but this event blew my socks off.
No, the opposite.
I didn't think about the book. Oh,
Tides of War is a great World of Warcraft book, and the scenario does it no justice at all.
Because I have played the scenario, right? Mm-hmm. So
it's bad.
It's not good.
No, it isn't at all. If there's like, if I've never had this thought until this exact moment, which is, I've never wanted a World of Warcraft like remastered like they do with so many popular games. Like, oh, I love Master Chief Collection. I know a lot of people like, want to nitpick its bugs and stuff, but getting to play through OG Halo with crisper graphics. Love it. I want that for Theramore's Fall. Just Theramore's Fall. I want the modern, beautiful in-game cinematics for Theramore's Fall, not the janky, it's a small world, everything is on strings cinematic that we got.
I think cinematic is a bit much. It is an in-game cutscene.
Yeah, not only is the cutscene bad, but like the way that it tells the narrative, it like basically doesn't. It's just kind of like, Theramore blew up. We're not going to explain to you why or or really how.
And that's really annoying. And I guess there's like, I was just saying, talking about the Cataclysm and how many people have kind of regrets about that because you can't go back and you can't play like huge swathes of the game that existed before.
Well, now you can.
And yeah, exactly, with Classic. But Theramore is kind of the opposite of that in that, even when it was blown up, which should be this really cool event, this really cool thing, all you had to do was talk to someone and it wasn't blown up anymore, or just like level an old character, like level a new character or whatever, and it wasn't blown up anymore. So it never felt like as impactful as it should have done for me. If you can just reverse it, I don't really see the point. And for all that we may regret what Cataclysm did to the world and stuff, at least it felt meaningful. At least it actually did change stuff. And at least if you did regret that those changes happened, well, good. You're not supposed to feel happy about the Cataclysm. And I kind of wish it had been like, I wish Theramore was just gone completely and no one could ever go there anymore, or like no one could ever see how it was. I feel like that would be more meaningful. I
think I disagree a little bit, because you like after you've experienced it, you go back, it is by default destroyed, because I kind of feel the same way about like going back to Lordaeron now after the Lordaeron scenario. That's all plagued and stuff. And like, yeah, I can talk to someone and go visit old Lordaeron, but I don't think about that when I'm heading out there. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, Lordaeron, I've seen it a million times. And then the plague's out front. And you're like, oh crap, that's right. Shit went down here. So to me, I think I still find it effective. But I did not find this Prepatch effective, just in general. I think, I think Miss Pandaria, like I didn't play through the Dark Portal event for Burning Crusade, but of ones I've played through, Miss Pandaria might actually be the worst Prepatch, in my opinion.
I disagree with you, but it's one of those ones that sounds kind of cool on paper, but didn't really sort of live up to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they lost it in the execution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so even though
the class changes going into Mist are really good, though. Lots of people say that Mist's class design, lots of people hold that up as a high for the entire game's history. Lots of people hold up Miss Pandaria class design as the apex, the high point of World of Warcraft class design, and it's what they are always wanting to go back to. And not just class design, but reward structure. And I know that's not something that happens in Prepatch, but the class design was there.
I really liked the reward structure of Miss Pandaria. I have very poor memory for what class design looked like, because I was still a Paladin main at that point from Wrath of the Lich King, and I don't remember much changes. I don't know when the hell they made the change where exorcism doesn't like stun all undead, but it didn't matter, because once we left Wrath of the Lich King, every enemy wasn't undead anyway, like they were in Wrath. So paladins have really, to me, I think, just really stayed consistent for a very long time.
When did monks become playable?
Mists of Pandaria.
But I mean, in the Prepatch or when the game went live?
Oh, I'm
assuming when the game went live, and that's when
I don't think that was Prepatch.
Yeah, it was on live, so that's not Prepatch content. Okay,
yeah,
because that might swing it.
Because it was a big deal for Demon Hunters that they were playable in Prepatch.
Yeah,
that was a really big kind of surprise.
Well, because it's a very involved starting area for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, likewise, not so much monks, no. But it was often paired with the new, because you got a new class and a new race in Mists of Pandaria, which was quite a big deal.
That was pandas, and they did. I mean, they had their own unique starting zone. I mean, we hadn't gotten to the point where we were at with Demon Hunters yet, though.
Yeah, totally.
But
and it wasn't in the pre-patch anyway. So how does that stack up with the Shadowlands pre-patch? And we have to take it on what we've had so far, but we can also look forward a bit to what's been played on the beta, because I don't think there's anything else. I don't think we're getting any surprises there. I think we've seen everything that we're going to get in the Shadowlands pre-patch on the beta. So we're looking at the class changes, the customization changes, the new leveling, and the Scourge Invasion, and the 2 weeks worth of very short questing in Icecrown.
I think it still beats out Mists of Pandaria.
Yeah, it's just more to do. I think the leveling total, because that has been an absolute joy to go through and do again.
Yeah, there's a bit of, I think, also just like what a pre-patch is in modern WoW sense coming into play here as well. As Mists of Pandaria is pretty old school in the way of that. I mean, scenarios were a new thing, but also not really a lasting thing.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, I didn't think was particularly effective. So yeah, it just was not. It was pretty feature light.
Wow. So an incomplete pre-patch, which is kind of stuck in limbo, where we don't know when the actual main meat of the pre-patch is going to happen. A half-finished flambe of a pre-patch, which is what Shadowlands is at the moment. It still beats out Mists of Pandaria.
I think by virtue of the new leveling system alone, this pre-patch gives you so much more potentially to go do than Mists of Pandaria's pre-patch. Also, awesome. I showed my hand. I told you I think Mists of Pandaria is a contender for me for worst pre-patch in the history of the game. So.
Well, it's out of the game now. It's out of the competition, so it won't be progressing to play against the winner of our next matchup, which is
Warlords of Draenor, Iron Horde Incursion versus Wrath of the Lich King Zombie Invasion, which is wonderful. We can just move to our semifinals.
Yeah, Wrath definitely wins.
Yeah.
But let's save talking about Wrath for the next round, but let's just talk for a brief moment about why WoD was so terrible. It's because there was nothing. I mean, this is the worst pre-patch of all time. There was literally nothing. There was like about 3 quests, I think, around the Dark Portal, where, okay, the garrison there, if you're Alliance, did get kind of trashed, but that was it. It was horrible. It was terrible. It was bad. It didn't feel dangerous. It didn't feel like you were getting invaded. I played it because I was really looking forward to Warlords of Draenor, obviously, because I was like 100% back in the game by then, and really, really getting excited for it. There was a dungeon. What dungeon was there? Wait a minute. What? No one told me about the dungeon. Maybe I'd have enjoyed it more if I played that.
I am unaware of this.
The specially revamped 5-player version of Upper Blackrock Spire.
Oh boy.
Time.
I mean, still technically more content than Mists of Pandaria.
Fair. But I mean, no, I can't. I'm sorry. It was horrible.
I did kind of actually enjoy the re-release of Blackrock. I just forgot that was part of this pre-patch. Yeah, it just wasn't great. It was also, It was trying to pull double duty, because if I remember correctly, this is the first time we had boosts. And so the Iron Horde Incursion also served as like the boost leveling experience if you boosted
I'm pretty sure the boosts came while Warlords was live. I think it came like in Warlords rather than...
I don't believe that is correct.
Okay. I must be wrong about that, but I remember boosts being introduced in Warlords because it's another reason why
came in the final patch of Warlords. Oh, okay.
Yeah. What you did there, Garrett, was you questioned Taliesin, and that never works well.
I disagree. So then why do I remember the Iron Horde? Did they make you go do the Iron Horde incursion? Why do I remember that for leveling? Maybe I was just alt hopping like crazy. The intro scenario worked as a tutorial. Okay.
Once boosts were introduced,
Gotcha.
which was in WoD, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm happy to accept if I'm wrong about that, but I remember like
fighting.
I remember the little trailer that came out when boosts were introduced, and it was in Warlords, I'm sure. Because everyone was like, we lost a raid tier for this.
Yeah. I don't know. It still sucked.
Yeah. It was horrible. I'm pretty certain that boosts happened in WoD and in the last patch of WoD. But and then you kind of got one or something. I don't know if you bought it. I don't know. But whatevs, mate. I can't remember. I don't think they were available in the pre-patch.
Boost came at the end of Missing area. It was a level 90 boost. Okay, so I'm not
really
crazy. I don't know. No one's providing a source, although.
No, I believe it. I believe that must have happened. I'm happy to be wrong about that. I believe it. Fair. It was still a shit pre-patch.
Oh yeah, it was absolute. It was Garbo for sure. Absolute Garbo.
Cool. So Wrath goes through. To the next round.
Yes.
So let's go to our semi-finals. What's the first semi-final matchup?
It's Battle for Azeroth War of Thorns versus Crusade the Dark Portal. What?
No,
it was Cataclysm the Shattering. I did the wrong thing.
Yeah, no way. Okay, so right, BFA versus Cataclysm.
Wrong copy-paste. Like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, we were just saying how Cataclysm was like a legit good pre-patch, in fairness. Like that's so. I mean, but there were things I literally there was so much in the BFA pre-patch that we didn't even talk about everything that was in the BFA pre-patch last time. Don't forget that if again for pre-orders, you actually were able to unlock allied races in the BFA pre-patch and level them through the new world scaling of BFA as well. So not only did you have war mode, not only did you have the class changes, not only did you have War of Thorns, not only did you have the Battle of Lordaeron and all the build-up and cinematics therein, not only did you have all of that, which we all agreed was like the biggest and best pre-patch of all time, but you also got allied races and you also got new leveling through the new world scaling. Just saying.
Cataclysm was really ambitious, and so was its pre-patch. But yeah, War of Thorns was just such a well-executed package. It had such a clear vision, and it executed that vision, I think, basically perfectly. And this is I cannot stand what they've done with Sylvanas dude talking.
Well, I kind of feel like if it was just the story and if it's just War of Thorns and it's just Battle for Lordaeron and things like that, I think BFA would still edge it, but it would certainly be a competition worth talking about when compared with Cataclysm, because it's quite interesting actually. You're looking at two very similar pre-patches in a way, in that you've got like a narrative, leading up to world changing. And that was the great thing about the BFA pre-patch, was that it changed a zone. It changed Darkshore and Teldrassil forever, and it came straight off the back of Silithus getting changed forever with the sword going down, and like this stuff that is really cool in an MMO, where events that you've played through change the world that you play the game in. And I think that's like MMO at its best, really. But Cataclysm did that as well. That's the thing. And I think with the allied races and the leveling, I think that's just something that, irrespective of how well each pre-patch did that thing, which was kind of the same for both, BFA just had that extra thing with the leveling and with the allied races. So I'm going to have to give it to BFA as well.
Yeah. This is actually a tough one to call, but I would give it to Battle for Azeroth as well, just because of, again, like I said, the execution of the vision. It had a really clear voice and put it out just basically perfectly. It was just so damn well done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to BFA as well and just move that to our final bracket.
Beautiful.
Which means,
well done, PFA. You're through to the final.
Yeah. Who would have saw this coming? Everyone, if they listen to this podcast regularly. Shadowlands versus Wrath of the Lich King Zombie Invasion event, which is fitting. We have Zombie Invasion versus Zombie Invasion, Taliesin.
Sorry, people are just pointing out in the chat that in real time, do you remember when I said that Exploring Azeroth had been put back again? And then I thought maybe, that hadn't been announced yet. It has just been announced as we were talking that Exploring Azeroth, the book, has been put back again to December the 3rd.
Oh, cool. So we're definitely not getting Shadowlands until mid-December at the earliest.
Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, because I was right about that.
Somebody clip this, please, so that when Shadowlands comes out mid-December, I can be like, you see what you did there, Taliesin.
I'd heard internally that it had been pushed back again, but obviously it hadn't been announced. Sorry. And there's no reason why it should. Like there's nothing in there that spoils anything in Shadowlands. So it's a bit of a mystery why that book would have been pushed back again, to be honest. And I know that the writer of the book is a bit confused about it as well. But there we go. It is what it is.
Oh, Blizzard employees that are displeased with the inside information coming out right here, please.
Just confused.
Just confused. Okay. Okay, cool.
Squid. I'm sure they have their reasons. Anyway, I've read it. It's really good. You should get it. What was the next round?
To send to the finals, we have Zombie Invasion versus Zombie Invasion. We have Wrath of the Lich King versus Shadowlands.
So you
can't write this. I mean, you could
write this, and we didn't.
If you wrote it, this is how you would have written it.
Yeah, it is. So we've got the Wrath of the Lich King Scourge Invasion versus the as yet non-existent Shadowlands Scourge Invasion. Okay, listen. You have to tell me why, because I didn't play it. You have to tell me why the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch was better than the Shadowlands pre-patch. You are the prosecution.
Oh, are you ready? Are you ready for a famous Garrett pop punk analogy?
Oh, no, I'm not ready. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, delightful. The Shadowlands Scourge Invasion would not exist without Wrath of the Lich King Zombie Invasion. Scourge Invasion of Shadowlands is the Blink-182 to Wrath of the Lich King Zombie Invasion's Green Day. You might like one more than the other, but the other wouldn't exist.
That was a horrible analogy.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Like this Wrath of the Lich King's pre-patch is the parental unit to Shadowlands' pre-patch. The Shadowlands' pre-patch is an homage.
You have to do Blink-182 and Green Day.
It is, I don't know, pick any other two extremely directly linked.
That's like going, oh yeah, but Westlife are great, but they wouldn't exist without Boyzone. It's like, I don't give a shit if neither of them exist.
I don't know who either of those are.
Listen, I got nothing against Blink-182 or Green Day. And like Green Day, very important band, obviously. But if I thought you were going to say something like Fugazi, okay? And then you said Green Day.
They're in the same genre. They are so closely linked. Like, yeah, Fugazi. I mean, I think it all probably comes.
I don't know, man. I kind of feel like maybe Blink-182 would exist without Green Day. I don't know, man. Fugazi
didn't do. Oh my God, we're getting it. We're losing the narrative here.
Quite right. But no, I take your point.
Especially since all of them owe more to the Descendants than they do Fugazi. But yeah,
I know. But I'm just talking in like the history of record labels and things like that. So yeah. Anyway, I was going a bit deeper on it, but don't worry. Yeah, you're right. Sure. You're quite right.
Fair.
Okay. And that's why it's better, just because it did it first. Because I'm not gonna lie to you.
There was like literally, I don't remember the specific details, but there was new content every couple of days during the Lich King Zombie Invasion event. Like stuff unlocked on a couple day timers, and it was really this incremental lead up to like attacks on Stormwind and Orgrimmar. and in that way, it was, and I cannot help but give credit because of when this happened. This is all the way back now. You may be like me and still think of Wrath of the Lich King as a relatively new expansion. This was forever ago. There had only been one other pre-patch event, and it was Burning Crusades. And that I know I've shown my hand and be like, I didn't play it. Whatever. It wasn't that interesting.
Well, you know what? I've never listened to Blink 182, so I didn't get that analogy. No, I have.
Like, it just, you know what everything you need to know about the Burning Crusade pre-patch by like reading a bullet list. The Wrath of the Lich King zombie invasion was so ahead of its time, I feel like. And yeah, it was followed up by Cataclysm, which again was really ambitious and did a lot. But then after that, it was followed, I think, by some pretty lame pre-patch event. Mists of Pandaria, not great, followed by Warlords. Look at that. Those are the two that you and I are fighting over which is the worst in rapid succession. And so for Wrath of the Lich King, back in 2008? When the hell did Wrath of the Lich King? Yeah. So the pre-patch event happened in October of 2008. Like, I don't know. It had so many layers. It did a lot. It gave a really cool variant of a tier set that everybody loves, and I bet you wish you could go back and get it right now, and you can't.
Well, okay. Here's the thing, right? I really, really want to give this to Shadowlands because, I mean, assuming that the zombie invasion is similar, okay, which is a big assumption. Although it is fun, I have played it on beta and it is a riot. You know, it is super fun going around not just Stormwind and Orgrimmar, but like sneaking the virus into other parts of the world and killing everyone there as well, like in Suramar or Dalaran or something like that. It's very, very fun. I really enjoyed it. The potential for mischief is high, and that's all we can ask. I also think that it releasing now, when Twitch is a thing, will really encourage it to be an even bigger deal. I think a zombie invasion, a Scourge invasion existing in a Twitch era WoW is almost guaranteed to be more fun because of the mischief that will happen.
I remember hearing employees at the local pizza parlor talking about this event.
Fair. Okay, like, fair.
But out anyway, in the wild of boring suburban West Coast Florida, rando minimum wage employees were talking in the open about the zombie invasion during Wrath of the Lich King.
Very fair. Okay, but let me finish my train of thought there, because I want to give it to Shadowlands, because assuming that they're kind of similar in gameplay terms, the Scourge invasions, but Shadowlands then also has all the new customization. It also has the new leveling, which is a big deal. Like, the new leveling is a huge thing. Like, it's something to go and do, and it's like hours and hours and hours more gameplay, like straight up, than was offered to us in the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch. I want to give it to Shadowlands for all those reasons, but there's two reasons that I'm going to give it to Wrath of the Lich King. One is those armor sets that you mentioned, which were for male were the unique recolors of the Judgment armor set, for goodness sake, which, wow, yes, awesome, thank you. I'll have that. I'll take it. And I think it's criminal that they're not reintroducing that in the quests of the Ice Crown quests, because there is
especially like an up-resed version, because
there is farm content in the Ice Crown stuff as well, which has been like criminally undertested on the beta, or on the PTR, I should say, and I think will prove to be a lot more fun than we're giving it credit for. I think that's another thing that Shadowlands probably has over the Wrath event. I think fundamentally it's probably just better. I think, like, pound for pound, it's a better pre-patch than Wrath. But the thing I love about the Wrath one is how much it pissed everyone off. Like, I feel like the Wrath one pissed off the player base to an unprecedented degree. I went on the Wayback Machine when I was testing the beta, the PTR version of the Shadowlands one. I went on the Wayback Machine. I went to the old Battle.net forums from the time, and the actual forum posts themselves are not on the Wayback Machine. They weren't saved. But the actual pages with the forum threads and the links to the threads, so the forum thread titles and, how many replies they got and what have you, those are still there. And just seeing how the forums in a matter of days were just taken over by threads just called things like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened, this is completely unfair, I want my money back, I'm refunding the game, this is and it was literally hundreds of posts. This event lasted 8 days before Blizzard had to cancel it early because the uproar against it was so intense and people hated it so much. And I don't know about you, Garrett. I don't know how much you know about me, but I love a shit show. And for me, this was like one of the ultimate shit shows in WoW. And that gets my respect. And that's why I'm giving it to Wrath. I think pound for pound, Shadowlands is better, but I think the impact of the Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch event, because it's something people still talk about. It's like legendary, It's one of the reasons we're doing it again for Shadowlands. And people talk about it so fondly now. It lasted 8 days because people QQ'd so much about it that they had to stop it. People hated it so much. People were crying like pure salt. The salt they were crying was solidifying around their eyes as they cried it. It was so salty. And that's what we were dealing with back then. And that's why Wrath wins it for me over Shadowlands. Even though I think Shadowlands is like a better pre-patch.
To me, I think the fact that they are as close as they are and Lich Kings happened in 2008 carries a lot of weight.
Fair. But I mean, there is loads more in Shadowlands as well. There's questing and there's farm content as well. And there's the leveling stuff as well and the level squish. So I think there is more in Shadowlands, and I think pound for pound it's a better pre-patch. But then, this pre-patch, another thing that we have to take into account with Shadowlands is we don't know when this pre-patch is going to end. Like, I'm saying this is a good pre-patch, but not if it lasts a year, it's not. Like, it's kind of relative to how if this pre-patch lasts a year, it's not a good pre-patch.
This pre-patch isn't gonna. If this pre-patch lasts a year, World of Warcraft has serious problems.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I can't promise you that it's not going to at this point. I can't 100% guarantee you that it's not.
Yeah, the feature side of things, it absolutely wins over Wrath of the Lich King. Like feature side blows it out of the water. Like you said, pound for pound. Like I think it wins in that kind of cold comparison. But in terms of the actual event itself and how it leads into Shadowlands versus how Wrath of the Lich King's event itself leads into, Wrath of the Lich King and the staying power of how it has echoed through the years and is infamous. Yeah, Wrath of the Lich King. I give it to Wrath.
Because of the impact it had. And there are people in the chat confused that I can say that I love it because I can say it was good because it pissed people off. That's not just me being contrary for the sake of it. Like, people remember huge events. And for everyone that hated it, there was just as many people that loved it. But it was people, however you felt about it.
I thought it was an absolute riot. I loved it.
It's what we were saying about Darkshore and Teldrassil and stuff. Like, loads of people hated what they did with Sylvanas there and hated the way that turned out with the burning of Teldrassil. But the fact is, it had a huge impact and everyone was talking about it. It fueled discourse. People felt incredibly passionately about it. Like, when does anyone ever talk about the WoD pre-patch?
Does anybody talk about WoD except when they're doing lists and once again realize, exactly. WoD was terrible.
Yeah, and I feel like for what it was supposed to do, I think it was the right thing for it to piss loads of people off. I think it was great. It was fun. It was funny. I'm reading those forum posts from the time for something that people talk about almost exclusively in fond terms now, and going back and seeing how much it split the player base. I think, I think fundamentally and the impact it had is brilliant. For 8 days, if you can't live with it for 8 days, I don't have that much sympathy.
Yeah, and I think unique weight should be placed on the event itself. I like, as much as I have focused on the systems of each pre-patch, like his chat room saying when it ended, the leveling changes and customizations of Shadowlands will be part of the game for years to come. You're not wrong, but like I think in a way you're going to think about that more as part of the expansion itself, because what is unique to the pre-patch is the pre-patch event, is the part that you can't go and recapture again.
Truth. Yeah, exactly. And I think legacy, we are talking about legacy here, and we are talking about lasting legacy. And I think that's something that the Wrath pre-patch has that maybe none of the others do. Maybe BFA will in the future. That remains to be seen. But Wrath definitely has it, and that's probably the best thing that you can say about it. And it's unique to Wrath, I think, in that respect, the way people talk about it. And I think in that sense, with its place in history assured, that's why I'm gonna. Even though I genuinely think that Shadowlands 1 is probably better, is it more engaging? Maybe not. Will we talk about it as much? Definitely not. Unless it lasts a year.
We'll probably talk about the new leveling system a lot, but we're going to talk about the new leveling system where when you go to quantify it, you're not going to say Shadowlands Prepatch. I think is at the end of the day why I tip the scale.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
In Wrath's favor. This one's hard. This one's hard for me, I think. I think,
it's probably the hardest one we're going to do, but I think I'm going to vote for Wrath.
Okay. Well, that means Taliesin. We're not done talking about it yet because now it is BFA.
The final. The moment you've all been waiting for. Wait, do we get? Can we have a pre-patch show with Shakira? My hips don't lie. Now we're ready for the final.
Yes, we go now to our halftime show, which will just be my favorite.
My hips don't lie. BFA is going to win. Shakira's hips predicting a BFA win here. Just saying.
Followed by the Backstreet Boys. Wrath is back. All right.
Yeah. Oh no, Janet Jackson's boobs falling out.
Oh, you can't handle it. We can't handle the pasty. We can't do it, Taliesin. This is a terrible bit. Let's get into it. Battle for Azeroth, War of Thorns versus Wrath of the Lich King Zombie Invasion. What say you?
Gonna have to say BFA.
Oh, this is a tough one. It's like, to me, it's like soul. Like Wrath of the Lich King has like soul and nostalgia, and Battle for Azeroth just has like cold, hard, well executed.
Oh, that's unfair.
Features.
The BFA pre-patch has got plenty of soul. Don't go like allowing how the expansion turned out.
How dare I? How dare I try and speak in somewhat generic terms for the sake of expediency? Well, also making a pun because Wrath of the Lich King is about Arthas and stealing souls with the sword.
So I think they're very different pre-patches. I think obviously the emphasis in the Wrath of the Lich King one was on like kind of open world sandboxy stuff in a way.
Yes.
You know, it was how you dealt with this and what you decided to do with it, which I think is its own kind of joy. BFA is like a very kind of single player experience, really. It's very narrative, it's very linear, and it gets through some narrative, man. But I think the crowning glory for the BFA, you keep referring it to as War of Thorns, which I think is perfectly fair, because that was 2 of the 3 weeks. But to then cap that all off with the Battle for Lordaeron, which was a whole other massive instance, with accompanying cinematics and a whole other kind of, we went to Darkshore and changed that zone forever, which would still be an awesome pre-patch. But then we went to Lordaeron and we changed that zone forever as well. And it straight away set up like the to and fro and like the eye for an eye of what the expansion should have been.
Yes.
Basically, BFA's pre-patch did the war better than BFA did.
Yes, yeah, we don't need to get into that discussion right now, but I completely agree with you. Like 100%. I think the pitting of Shadowlands versus Wrath of the Lich King against each other really makes me kind of take stock of how much I want a pre-patch event to be an event, like something that really defines what you are doing in the game day to day when you log in to play World of Warcraft leading up into the expansion. And because of that, I think I am reluctantly also leaning towards BFA for no other reason than it also brought in War Mode. And the way that that blended with the story that was being told in Darkshore.
It's true. That is true.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's true, because I suddenly found I was playing mostly Alliance at that point, and yeah, I was in Darkshore and I was killing me hordes, and it did feel like a war.
I want to give credit to Wrath of the Lich King's pre-patch event because the Scourge event was something you had to deal with, and it affected you. There was no choice in the matter. The game said, this is the event, this is what's going on. You will all be part of it, whether you like it or not. Whereas War Mode is a choice. You could not turn it on and have a very straightforward questing experience.
Yes.
But I don't think that's enough. I think that it's credit that should be given to the Wrath pre-patch event, but damn it, yeah, BFA's pre-patch event was just such a. I just keep coming back to the fact that it's just such a well executed vision. Like, it knew exactly what it was trying to do, and it did it perfectly. Yeah,
totally. And like, whatever you think about how the narrative played out, the way it was presented, and the way it was delivered, I thought was exquisite. Is the word, and like had my hopes very high for storytelling in BFA, which some of which was totally met, and some of which wasn't. But I think it's kind of like a perfect microcosm of what the Fourth War, if you like, which is how it's referred to in game now, could have been if BFA hadn't been essentially two different concepts for an expansion stuck together. You know, if. And I think that, yeah, I'm that's before you even talk about the new leveling and the allied races and stuff like that. So I think, you know, even ignoring the fact that the BFA pre-patch has literal tons more content than the Wrath of the Lich King one, I think what they did was very special, and I think they executed it very well. I think people had mixed feelings about it at the time, and I think people will continue to have mixed feelings about it. But then, as we've seen in this conversation and in chat, people still have very mixed feelings about the Wrath event as well. And I think BFA is the only pre-patch that stands a chance of being remembered in anything like the same terms as the Wrath one, and having the same legacy. Because of the way it got people talking, the way it kind of like changed the world of Warcraft, and like just the way it was like a ride that took that you got taken on as a player in a way that I don't think we've really had before. So I'm going to give it to BFA. Sorry, that's boring, isn't
it? No, because I agree with you, and I refuse to agree with something that I also agree with that is boring. Yeah, it's just kind of pound for pound, and like Chevron's bringing up other things that we haven't mentioned. Like, people were mad about time gating in the War of Thorns content, which you're not wrong. People were mad, but like, having played through the Wrath pre-patch event, like I was more entertained for a longer period of time with BFA's pre-patch.
And also, it seems a bit harsh to hold the fact that some people hated it against it when that's literally the reason why I voted for Wrath of the Lich King. The event that got cancelled after 8 days because everyone hated it so much.
Yeah,
it's like I literally counted that as a good thing for Wrath of the Lich King. It would be a bit churlish to make it the reason why I didn't vote for BFA. And yeah, lots of people did hate it, but people felt very. Some people criticized the time gating because they didn't like the Teldrassil thing. I feel like some people had such strong reactions against Sylvanas and Teldrassil and how that played out that that it made them find other things to hate. And the first week was a bit slow, I got to admit.
But I'm one of those people that I didn't find other things to hate. I think the rest of it is great, and that is just kind of like one of my biggest grumbles in the history of WoW's story.
I thought the pre-patch was really great. However you think like BFA turned out, I thought the pre-patch was masterful. I thought it was really exciting.
I played a ton. Yeah. I think it's the most.
Well, there we go, guys. The second place goes to Wrath of the Lich King. Prepatch, and first place goes to BFA with honorable mentions for Legion and Cataclysm, I think, as well.
Do you think the matchups had any bearing on this? Do you think we still would have ended up with this? Obviously, unless BFA had ended up matching up against Wrath of the Lich King at the very beginning.
I think Legion could have gone to the final had it had a better matchup, and maybe once we compared it to other expansions and like loved it a bit more, if it had got to the final and faced BFA there, maybe it would have been a bit different story. I feel like being in the first round against BFA worked to its disadvantage.
Yeah, I think Warlords versus Myths would have been slightly more interesting of a discussion to have, because it would have been the fight of the two worst Prepatches in my mind.
Yeah. And also, I think Shadowlands got a bad break there by coming up against Wrath straight away as well, because they are so comparable. Oh, I came up against Mists first, didn't it? You're right. But it was an unlucky draw for Shadowlands to come up against Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah. But we also spent the beginning of the episode singing Shadowlands' virtues. So
yes.
I think a lot of this comes back around to kind of our unspoken tenet of the show, which is most WoW is good WoW. You know, given its warts and all, we tend to still enjoy our time with World of Warcraft.
Most WoW is good WoW. That's why we have to kill it.
Yep. Well, delightful. If you would like to be a part of this podcast, fine listener, you can write into wowkillercast@gmail.com. That's how we propagate our mailbag episodes, and even from time to time pull an episode into a non-mailbag episode, because it's just so on topic for the topic that we are discussing. / we need to fill out time because the topic we're discussing turns out it's coming to an end a lot faster than we thought.
We just spoke for almost 2 hours about the pre-patch playoffs.
I mean, the first 40 minutes was just us talking about how much we'd hate Breath of Sindragosa, but yeah. But yeah, send those emails to wowkillercast@gmail.com if you would like to support the show. Subscribe to it. That's it. That's your only option. Subscribe to it and tell your friends to go and subscribe to it.
Yeah.
So go do that.
Or don't. I mean, whatever, man.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcasts. You an Apple user, you an Android user, there's options for you. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on iTunes. It's everywhere. youtube.com/wowkillercast. If you would rather look at us, me on this crap-tacular webcam, because Taliesin sabotaged my beautiful camera with an Elgato cam link that doesn't work. Just teasing you, man. Taliesin, if folks are somehow a World of Warcraft fan and a fan of this podcast but don't know where to find you, which I find extremely unlikely, where can they find you?
I wouldn't bother, boys. I'd leave my channel for a couple of weeks. I'm pretty tired. I'd give it a miss. I'll tell you next.
Just skip it.
Yeah, skip it. I'll tell you next week.
Just skip it entirely. Yeah. You should go find Taliesin and Evitel everywhere. Just Google that, and it will come up. Or amove.tv for me and this show and every other damn one that I produce. amove.tv. That's where that is.
Which is many. That's why we're doing this episode a bit early, is because you've got so much Hearthstone coming up this week, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently they're announcing a new expansion, a new game mode, and what they're calling a systems update.
It feels like last week they did that. They didn't. When did the last expansion come out?
It's been months.
Months. They don't dick around in Hearthstone, do they? It's expansion this, expansion that.
I think they do. I think they are digging around. I think they've completely ruined the meta of Battlegrounds, but yeah, that's just me. If you'd like to hear thoughts on that, actually you won't this week because there's going to be so much news to talk about. We were just going to be trying to digest all the ways that Hearthstone is changing. Go check out the Angry Chicken. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of WoW Killer. Until next time, good luck, have fun, and be a nice zombie when it hits the game.
Don't be horrible.
That's a good little soundbite of you at the end. Don't be horrible. That's good. That's good. All right.
Hey, we did it. We did it.
Chat room, I would like to publicly thank Taliesin for his patience because I messaged him while he was sleeping last night. And I was like, hey, can you maybe do it today? That'll just make my week a lot easier. And then he messaged me while I was sleeping. I was like, yeah, if we can do our normal time. And then I messaged him 10 minutes after our normal time to see if he could do it 20 minutes after or 30 minutes total after our normal time. And then was 30 minutes late to that while I fought with tech issues. So
it was weird. I woke up this morning and I was like, I don't know why. I feel like I dreamt about Garrett last night.
This is more than anything else, my biggest concern about like the time this happens is because if I run into any issues at all, it just flummoxes everything because it's just like it's the first power on of the day. So, but that's really it. Like I can wake up sometimes, but anyways, chat, you've been awesome and you were all really good sports, as you always are about a topic that we all definitely don't agree on. And you had some damn good points, everybody.
Really not agreeing with it, which just makes me like it more.
Yep. Oh, someone clipped that was a horrible analogy. Let's see. Let's. Everyone was talking about your face during this. Oh.
Can I see it? Some of that.
Oh, you were so mad. You were so.
I wasn't mad. I was just like, I don't know why, but. I think it was the use of Green Day, a band who I really like, but the use of Green Day as like an example of like almost progenitors of I guess the SoCal punk scene just kind of made me die a bit inside. But I'm not saying anything against them as a band. That's, you know, and they're a much older band than a lot of people give them credit for as well. I realize that, but I was just not expecting Green Day to be the band that you used. That's all.
They opened the door. They made it popular.
Yeah, fair.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Buzzcocks because a lot of people usually yell Buzzcocks at the top of their lungs.
No, I mean that's going. You're going through some more links in the chain there. It's not such a direct, like, yeah. I mean, like the Buzzcocks, obviously, like formative, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a direct link.
Yeah.
Blah. Whatever. Yeah. Green Day, good. Blink 182, fine. They're fine.
I was just trying to be on brand. I could have done a car analogy if you would have preferred that.
Cars would have been good too.
Yeah.
I guess. What else, man?
One is the Model T and the one is, I don't know, pick any other car that came after the Model T.
The fact that Green Day are from the East Bay is irrelevant to the sound.
Yeah. I mean, they are technically NorCal, not SoCal, but that's, yeah, I was thinking more about who opened the floodgates for punk as a genre to be on the radio.
Yeah.
But Dead Milkman. Yes, Dead Milkman, clearly a breaker down of barriers for punk music.
Yeah.
Well, chat room.
But I always remember like those early Rancid albums that always had like the hand-drawn gig posters on the inside, and they always had like Green Day there as well. Like Green Day is a super old band.
Yeah, well, they and Rancid came up in the exact same club in Oakland. Gilman Street is where they both got their start. I mean, Green Day still covers Operation Ivy at every live show.
Do they really?
Yep.
What song do they do?
They do Knowledge, and it's always this song where they bring people up out of the audience to play
No
instruments.
way!
Yeah, it's like a Green Day tradition.
Man,
they've been doing it forever.
I still wear my homemade Operation Ivy jacket sometimes, even today.
I didn't. Yeah. I was not aware of this. I've got
the Operation Ivy, like the logo, the guy, you know, from the Oni album, with Unity written across the shoulders.
That would be uno momento. Have you ever seen this thing close up?
No, show me.
Oh, and so it's got fewer stickers on it now because I just put new electronics in it, so the pick guard's been swapped out. But do you see the sticker?
There you go.
Yeah.
And a World of Warcraft sticker on there as well.
Yep, World of Warcraft.
Ooh, also a Rancid sticker very near a
move on the side.
Cool.
But yeah.
And that's awesome. Yeah, I know that's.
Yeah, in case you're wondering who my favorite band is, there's only one band that has two stickers on here, and it's Green Day.
But no, I think like, oh man, yeah, no, Rancid are special. I've seen them many times.
I've still got my my punk jacket somewhere. It's patch bashed. And that's got a big old Rancid patch on the back.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I miss shows. I miss shows a lot.
Me too, dude. Anyway. Well, you seem to cut me.
Yep,
I'm back.
Yep. I minimized everything, which meant you went away. But chat room.
Sorry, I said Green Day are good, okay? They're good.
All right, chat. I'm gonna bring the stream down so we can get this posted, and Tally can get the hell out of here because it's getting late over there for him.
I'm undecided if I'm going to stream yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to ask my wife, Evitel, if she would like to get posh fried chicken takeaway tonight. And if she says yes, then I will be so happy that I will stream. If not, I was up at 3 o'clock with my baby last night, so I might not have the energy to stream, and I might do some video work instead. So I guess you'll find out what I'm having for dinner, whether my stream starts or not.
Yeah. Well, folks, check out Taliesin and Evitel on Twitch and keep an eye on it. We're going to bring the stream down now. Thanks for hanging. Bye.
Thanks, guys.